Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. Yeah.
Rodg, it's Tuesday night. It's time for another excellent episode of the HerbNRodg Podcast. First, Rodg, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic.
All right, good. Now that we talked about that, let's go ahead and say hello to I love you, Rodg. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastically splendid on this beautiful Tuesday evening. Thank you for asking, Herb.
Yep.
I'm not going to ask you how you're doing.
You probably shouldn't. Great night, great show planned ahead. We have the Big Ten preview tonight with a very, very serious slant towards Penn State. So Penn State, guess we've tried to get Penn State person, I guess, for a little bit here. So he was very, very gracious to come on. So we appreciate him being in here. Do you want to say hello to a couple of people real quick? Zach always jumping in with the random friend days.
Yes, thank you, Zach, for joining us.
Yeah. What's up, Lady Alpha? Roll Tide. And
good evening, Lady Alpha.
Your podcast. And then
Lady Alpha, when does the podcast launch? Let us know.
Yep. And Carol, I was looking for a regular one, but Carol said, hey, what's up, Carol?
Evening,
good
Carol.
to see you, Georgia Bulldog in the house. And Kat, Roll Tide. Kat, I don't know if William's watching right now, so we'll do this at the end as well. William, we hope that you have a very, very happy birthday, or belated birthday at this point.
Yes.
We hope that your mom treated you very, very well. We love you, man. We have always appreciated your contributions to the show.
Yes.
Happy birthday. I keep want to say Merry Christmas. Happy birthday, William.
Merry birthday, William. Merry birthday.
Merry birthday, William. Love you, bro.
Yeah.
All right, Rodg. Very, very special guest. We got to get into this, okay?
Yeah.
James Franklin actually has him on number 3 on his speed dial, which is interesting because James Franklin is married and has 2 daughters. So don't ask me where that shakes out. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is a man that convinced Drew Aller to come back to school for one more year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And whenever Penn State does the whiteout, he's the one that gets to choose which games are the whiteout games.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, only the best press. Jarrod Prugar coming to us, writer for the Nittany Sports Now, and which we just found out because it wasn't in the bio, also has 2 podcasts out there for us. Jarrod, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm great. And listen, you can blame me for all the big noon games that Fox decides to do, simply because I like waking up, getting to the stadium and leaving and being able to watch, the Mountain West after dark.
Yes. Those games are always exciting. Yeah.
Yes. And it doesn't help that our team never plays well in the noon games whenever we have to be there. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, Eric, I saw, or I guess we were talking earlier. We'll start there and we keep going on. Got to put your eyes on practice today, right? What's the feel kind of with Penn State? Are you getting, that excitement kind of building? We've seen different reports here or there, and I know maybe you can't talk about all of it, but what's the feel kind of with practice with Penn State right now?
I mean, their individual drills look really good. I mean, you're always going to look great on air, and that's the thing at Penn State. I mean, we don't really get to see a lot. We get to see about 15 minutes of individual drills, and then we come back 2 hours later to talk to James Franklin and some other coaches. But I mean, I think the expectations are high, and you've got to be able to live up to those standards. You've got a brand new defensive coordinator. So you've got now 3 defensive coordinators in the last 3 years with Manny Diaz, Tom Allen, and now Jim Knowles. And Jim Knowles is a guy that's very well respected. Obviously, won the won the national championship as the DC for Ohio State. So, I mean, that's a big-time hire to go out and have him calling you, essentially, even after winning a national title at Ohio State. Coaches are excited to work with them. Players are excited to work with them. And excited to see, this is a team that was really 1 or 2 receivers away from potentially making it to the national championship game to play against Ohio State or even winning.
Right. No, and you that's one of the questions I definitely was going to ask maybe later, but it sounds like a great time. What was bigger for you guys, Drew Aller coming back or getting Jim Knowles?
That's a good question. I think you can't replace that talent in Drew Aller. They made a seamless transition from Manny Diaz to Tom Allen. And I don't think they expected to see Tom Allen go to Clemson, especially. But I think it's easier to replace a coach than a 4-year starter at quarterback. You have two guys in Jackson Smolik, and now I'm of course losing my mind. But
that's what happens when you're around greatness like us. We understand.
Yeah, right, absolutely. But it's just one of those deals that you're just trying to replace those reps, and you can't do that with guys that are in their first year or second year. I mean, 4 years, he's got the arm talent. He probably could have gone, I think, mid to late first round. Now I think if he has a great year, Ethan Grunkemeyer is the other guy I'm trying to draw a blank on. But you can't replace the talent and the experience that Drew Aller has if you're going to chase a national championship.
No. So, and taking a step back, I guess, because that is where you're at. How do you feel like with the way last year ended, making the playoffs after a while, was that the big step forward, or is there more disappointment on the end of how it ended? Like where are you guys at with how things ended and how to move on?
That's so tough because I think for most programs, and I mean, I think you guys can relate to this in Alabama.
Yes,
that you're making it that far is good, but you're a play or two away from playing for the national championship game, and that's not a place that Penn State has gotten to, ever because of the way that the college football playoff has been formatted. So I mean, I think you can be happy with where you got, but I also think you need to, I don't think you can be satisfied either. Because you're still, again, a receiver or two, a player or two away from beating Notre Dame and going on to play Ohio State or whoever in that national championship game. But again, you can also be thrilled that you got that far. You had probably the easiest path to where they got to, in beating, SMU at home in a raucous environment that they were not prepared for. You can't prepare like that if you're SMU, and that's not a knock on Rhett Lashley in that program. But it's very tough to replicate 110,000 people yelling and screaming in 15-degree weather in southern Texas. So I mean, that's tough. Then you get Boise State, and I think Ashton Jeanty was great and what they were able to do. I think Spencer Danielson is an incredible coach, but at the same time, that's probably the most favorable matchup in the quarterfinals in the Fiesta Bowl, a place you've been, a place you've won at, and then obviously you go and play Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame and. They made a couple more plays than Penn State did. But again, they won 2 New Year's Six games, or I'm sorry, at least one New Year's Six game, and that obviously that first round. So I mean, it's a good year for most programs, but I think there's still a lot to be desired, and I think that makes it a little bit stronger to get back to that this year for them.
So speaking of the loss to Notre Dame, is there something that the 2025 team can kind of bring to kind of give you over the edge? As far as those 3-point wins, as opposed to that the 2024 team might not have had?
Trevor Pena and Kyron Hudson, 2 receivers that they got. Hudson's from USC, and Trevor Pena is from Syracuse. Getting those guys, I think is going to is absolutely huge, just because they were 1 or 2 guys again away, and they relied heavily on Tyler Warren, and Tyler Warren is obviously off to the NFL and the Colts, but you have 1 or 2 top guys, and it's a whole different situation. And I think that's going to be the kind of the ace in the hole for them. They got the 2 best running backs, I think, in the country that are going to have fresh legs because they split those reps. As long as they can both stay healthy, I think that's going to be, huge for them. But defensively, you bring back a lot. Yeah, you lose Abdul Carter. I mean, he was a monster in the playoffs, even with one arm. And obviously, he's with the Giants now, and unfortunately, I'm a Cowboys fan, and I hate to see that every.
Whoa!
Yeah, don't hold it against me. Yeah, so my disappointment for this season in the NFL is already over, which is great. Like I already know, it's going to be their year.
Are they going to pay? Are they going to pay Micah? Like, is that even going to happen, or what's?
They have to.
They have to.
Okay.
Because if they don't, he's gonna leave and go to the Commanders and Dan Quinn
or something.
Yeah, and it's just gonna make my life, even worse. Like seeing them play those guys like Saquon twice. Micah Parsons twice, guys
I
like
forgot
that.
about Saquon. Yeah, that's got to be rough already.
So it was very painful watching the Eagles win the Super Bowl. It's not great for me, but it's tough to lose guys like that. But I think one of the key factors for me that's coming back is Tony Rojas. He was not fully healthy last year. He might be one of the signal callers for them this year, but he's going to be, I think, a force to be reckoned with at the linebacker spot.
You said AJ. Okay, let me say hello to a couple people. Did see Big Mike jump in there. Appreciate you, Big Mike. Roll Tide. And we're glad William liked it, man. We love William and we love your. So hey, you guys got to get us a score prediction for the first game video. Yeah. So in a couple weeks. What's up, Randy? Georgia Bulldog fan, someone we collaborate with a lot. So this is always a good person to know. If you ever want some Georgia info or a Georgia podcast, this is a person to jump in with too.
Thank you for joining us, Randy.
And you did mention, I know we kind of went past it, but the Knowles situation and with him what is there anything that we're kind of missing with that story, with him just basically being ready to leave Ohio State and reaching out to Penn State? You know, I know we've read different things. I guess he's more of like a prickly kind of guy. Like, look, I'm a squirrel away. I'm going to come out with my stuff. But he clearly knows his defense. But what are we missing from the outside about that?
It's so tough because, you know, only he knows really is going on. I don't know that Ryan Day is what he is as far as how he is to work with. But James Franklin has developed some sort of culture at Penn State. And this is historic there. But where people want to come and coach with him. You know, the expectations at Ohio State, I mean, and I'm speaking for Ohio State people, but they didn't beat their biggest rival and yet won the national championship. And I don't think they're satisfied with that. I mean, you have to beat Michigan. And I don't know that that's kind of his fault, but it's just one of those deals where there's only so many different things and so many different coaches, you know, want their hand and fingers in everything. And I think that's where it got to be a problem with Ryan Day, where they didn't let Jim Knowles be Jim Knowles. And Jim Knowles is a guy that wants – he's not a head coaching type guy.
Right.
He's a coordinator. He's a coordinator through and through.
Which is fine, by the way. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And if I'm a coach, like I embrace that. And James Franklin is more of a CEO type. Yeah, he has his pulse. He has a pulse on everything. But he lets his coaches coach, and he doesn't interfere unless he has to. And I think that's why you get guys like Tom Allen. You know, he was still getting paid by Indiana after he got fired there to come be a defensive coordinator. And you know, guys like Manny Diaz, same deal. You know, it's kind of like last chance you for coordinators, very similar to what Nick Saban was doing with guys like Kiffin and Sarkisian. You know, come here, work for a couple of years, then you go be a head coach somewhere. Now he's got a guy in Knowles who is a lifelong Penn State fan and a Pennsylvania guy. He wants to be a part of the program, and he brings that national championship, quality that Penn State has been missing for the last few years. And I think that's a big get, and for him to want to come and for that to be an option for them, I think it is great. And I think that's another smooth hire for James Franklin and company.
I agree. I was surprised. And I was reading through some of your stuff where it was like, who are we getting as a coordinator? Like, what's going on? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, Knowles.
Right. Like, I didn't even think that was an option. I mean, he just won a national championship, right?
Like, yeah. Right.
Like, why would he leave? Why would you? And then you see that that's an option. He's not at the parade. And like, listen, whatever. I mean, nobody wants to be in Columbus at that time of year anyway. Let's be real. But then you come through and you see like, hey, this is how it worked. I thought it might be an option. And then poof, he ends up in Happy Valley. And I think that's a great thing. And I don't know that he's going to leave anytime soon either. And that's the biggest thing. You see these consistent programs, they have the same coordinators in it. And if they do, it's just kind of they're not necessarily taking a step down. It's, when they have to rehire somebody, it's, it might be an improvement. And it's tough to go from Tom Allen to a guy like Jim Knowles. Yeah. And that's crazy to me that they were able to get him. But that speaks volumes to what James Franklin has done. He's surrounded himself with some great Penn State guys that know both the program, the Big Ten, and what they do there at the university, and filled in the holes with guys like Knowles and guys, like Stan Drayton, who have had head coaching experience, who aren't afraid to tell Franklin, how it is. Like, one of the biggest things that I think they did this year in the offseason was they self-scouted. Hey, how did you scout against us? Like, the only two teams that haven't scored Andy Kotelnicki's offense haven't scored a touchdown on were both defenses coached by Jim Knowles.
Mm-hmm. You're kind of getting the feeling. I think you wrote this very early on in the year. Or I guess you're talking about Pat McAfee too, but you get the feeling like Penn State realizes, like, if it's not this year, when is it going to be? Do you feel like that's the same or?
Yeah. I mean, this is the big test that, every year they could be, I think it's very easy to say, hey, we're going to go, they're going to go 10-2, 11-1. And that one loss is always going to be Ohio State or Michigan. They had historically been a lot better under Franklin against Michigan until, they knew what was coming and understand the sign stealing scandals and all that fun stuff. But I mean, you deal with that, but they have to beat Ohio State. And this is the year to do it. I mean, your biggest test early in the season is going to be Oregon.
Right.
And then you got that. That's going to be a night game. That's going to be a great – and I think I just saw that one of their 5-star recruits or 5-star guys just got dismissed from the team or is suspended indefinitely from the team, which is, good for Penn State, bad for Oregon. I don't know what the extent of that is.
Yeah, I didn't see that yet.
But you're going to get them at 7 o'clock or 7:30 or whatever in the whiteout, and that's going to be something that I don't think that Oregon has, ever experienced.
Now, I know one of Oregon's 5-stars broke his leg, I think, in practice. It was that guy or somebody?
Jurion Dickey. It looks like it just happened today.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah,
what happened? Oh, wow. I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, Dan Lanning, I guess, said that he was suspended indefinitely, so I'm not 100%.
Oh, wow.
He also faced
the summer, so it can't be grades.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the deal. Like you got that test against Oregon that you're at home. They have to cross the country. You just saw them, and they're not going to be the same team without Dylan Gabriel. Yeah. So you got some flexibility there. Now it's just, can you go out and execute? And then that November 1st matchup against Ohio State, both teams are going to come in there after a bye. Who's going to have the better game plan? And if Penn State were to win, then I think, then it's making sure you prevent that letdown the rest of the year. But this is the year that they have to do it. They have to get past Ohio State. But again, if they don't, it's still, especially the Ohio State not beating Michigan, you win that and you get to where you want to go and you still have everything in front of you, but it still leaves a bad taste in your mouth. You still can't get over that hump.
Yeah.
And people still talk about James Franklin can't win that big game.
Yeah. And that's going to be one of our points anyway. Might as well we'll jump into that. James Franklin, the hot seat ranking. Do you feel like first the criticism in him is warranted, or is it unjustified, or is it a little too harsh?
I think it's a little too harsh. I mean, there are 100 and some odd schools that would love to have a guy like James Franklin. I mean, he's a good face of the university. He says the right things. He can come off as kind of brash to an extent, but being able to see how he's grown from that 2016 year up to
did I hit that? Sorry.
Up to what he is now, I think he's started to understand the processes at Penn State a little bit better. They finally have alignment from an administration standpoint. They're pumping millions of dollars into this program and into Beaver Stadium, with the renovations. So, I mean, that aspect of it is good. But, I mean, again, outside of those first few years where the sanctions were bad and that 2020 year where they just had to battle COVID and a bunch of other stuff that didn't really help him at all. It's been, I think, a lot of unwarranted stuff. I mean, if you're only losing to Ohio State and Michigan every year, it's tough. But you're gonna get some crap for it. But again, who's gonna be better? The only teams that are gonna be better are probably the ones that are beating you, or there are guys like Saban or Sarkisian that might have that ability to be maybe a little bit better. But again, he's exactly what you want from the university. He's a respectable guy. The stuff at Vanderbilt notwithstanding, I think he's grown a lot since that. Mm-hmm. But everything else at Penn State, the players are doing it the right way. They're staying for the right reasons. I mean, he got two guys both to come back. I don't know what they got in NIL, but guys in Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, who are guys that could be 1A backs everywhere else. Now they're 1A, 1B at Penn State. And that speaks volumes to what he's able to do as a leader of these guys.
Yeah.
Speaks volumes to the team culture too.
Right. That's the thing. Like the culture, you see it every day. And that's one of the biggest things you see at practice is just, everybody doing things the right way. You see the branding across the program. And I think that speaks volumes because you can have guys come in and be one-trick ponies in one year of success, but you got to be able to sustain that. And getting rid of a guy after a bad year isn't always the right call. I mean, you look at what Tom Allen did at Indiana. I thought, nobody talked about Indiana football until Tom Allen got there. Now, Frank Signetti is making sure you speak about it solely because like he's, they're the team, man. They're the national champions in the Midwest.
Yeah. No.
Plus, when you get rid of a coach, you have to take some things into consideration. I mean, a lot of people want to criticize the coach if they lose a big game or whatever the case may be. Say, oh, this guy's fired, but you have to understand that when you get rid of a coach, you're going to lose a lot of players too. Well, it depends on the reasoning, but some of these players that come in are attached to the coaches, so you're going to lose some players too. You're going to go through some transitional period. It could be 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. You don't know how long that's going to be, so it's easier said than done when you want to get rid of somebody.
I agree 100%. And you look at kind of how Penn State has handled the transfer portal. They've brought more guys in that have been playmakers than they've had guys leave and be playmakers. So, I mean, that speaks, volumes to me and what he's been able to do in that culture. Again, at Penn State, people want to be there. And that's not just players. I mean, that's coaches too. And what we're seeing, guys like Jim Knowles, guys like Tom Allen and Manny Diaz, to name those guys. And Andy Kotelnicki, I mean, he was comfortable at Kansas. I mean, he had everything, going for him down there, but was willing to come up to Penn State. And I think that's, they're national championship contenders for a reason. And it doesn't, and it's not built in a day. He took over a program that was mired in sanctions. They had, up until, when Bill O'Brien was there, he recruited mainly skill position players just so they had a chance. And now, Franklin's got a lot of guys that have been solid, and he's able to turn those guys loose.
Sorry, I'm pulling up well, I guess to end the Franklin talk, what if you had to give a number on his hot seat ranking, or is there a situation you could actually see him getting fired? Like, what would it have to be? You'd almost have to bottom out.
I think you'd have to hit like a ground zero type where you're 3-9, or 6 I don't want to say 6-6. I mean, anything can happen, injury wise. Maybe the entire bus, the first team offense gets in a crash or something. But like, not to speak like it will. But like, I think his hot seat is very, very cold at this point. Okay. Now it's gonna turn up a little bit if they lose at Ohio State. But again, when we talked about it, there's only been a few teams where he's not been favored in, and more often than not, he beats the teams that he's supposed to beat, and that's exactly what you want out of a coach.
And when you guys started with number 2 in the AP top 25, did you see that coming? Did you feel like that was warranted? And honestly, is that what you wanted?
I think it's better than number 1. I think now you have room to improve, right? It's tough to be the front runner the entire season, and I think it's warranted. You return your starting quarterback from a team that was in the Final Four last year. You return both of your running backs, most of your offensive line, and most of your defense. And I think there's value in that. I mean, they're only a couple plays away from beating Notre Dame late there in the Orange Bowl. And with what Ohio State lost, that's not a shock. Texas is Texas, and I think the Arch Manning hype is very interesting because he's a guy that sat behind Quinn Ewers. Is that because they wanted him to be prepared? Is that because Quinn Ewers was light years ahead of him, or what? And there's different value in that, and now they have to kind of live up to those number 1 expectations. I hate preseason polls for that reason. Like, we haven't seen these teams play yet, and we're not going to see these teams play until they get to their conference. Like, Penn State opens with Nevada. Like, no, you're not going to see absolutely anything for the first 3 weeks for Penn State. You're not even going to see them break a sweat offensively unless they just come off the buses just miserably. But number 2 makes sense to me. And looking historically at the last the Big Ten run here, Michigan started preseason number 2, I believe, ended up Big Ten champions or something along those lines. Same with Ohio State. They all started number 2 in the preseason AP poll. And then here's Penn State. This is their best chance that they've had under Franklin. Can they live up to those expectations? I took a picture at practice today, and it was just going to be one of those. He's got the 1-0 mentality, right? And this is the year that has to be the focus, because if you veer anywhere off of that 1-0 every week, you're going to find yourself in a bad spot against a team that you shouldn't probably find yourself in a bad spot.
Right. Now I've got a kind of an off the wall question that I feel like I'm going to forget if I don't. who do you know? Because I see that Penn State ends the year with Rutgers. Who do you consider to be like Penn State's biggest rivalries, or as a rivalry game, or who you'd always want to have on the schedule?
Well, if you look around campus or look around the football facility, they say they're unrivaled. They don't have a rival.
Right.
Historically, I would say Pitt. I think that's the flash in the pan. That's the low hanging fruit, if you will. In the Big Ten, I love myself a trophy game. So I love the Land-Grant Trophy against Michigan State. Obviously, Michigan State's rival is Michigan. Ohio State's rival is Michigan. Michigan's rivals, Michigan State and Ohio State. So, I mean, it's tough. When they were independent for so long. But I would love to see them play Pitt more. I mean, it is what it is. It's the nature of college athletics. West Virginia plays some more of those localized games. But, as far as the Big Ten is concerned, because the way that college football is made up, you're not going to have the opportunities to play Power 5 schools or Power 4 schools, if you will, in non-conference play. It doesn't really do you any good. I mean, if you lose, that's not great. And if you win, okay, great. But it's still, just one of those deals. But I would like to see them play Michigan State for the prestigious Land-Grant Trophy. Like, if you guys seen the Land-Grant Trophy, how ugly that thing is, I need you guys, like, whenever you need to look it up. Like,
I have to take a look at
it. It is like if you were a sixth grader and you were doing an art project and you just had to find pieces of junk from every ounce of school, or from your school, from each of those, and it's a beauty. It really is.
We got to get this right, Rodg.
Yeah.
We need a trophy for us. What would our trophy look like, Rodg?
Just my face on it.
Ooh, it'd definitely be an ugly trophy then, huh?
Oh, wow. Really? Come on.
I mean,
tough crowd, man. Ouch.
Golly.
This is what happens when two brothers do a podcast together. So, look at that. Rodg, who do you think? I don't feel like it was an off the wall question. Who do you think of when you think of Penn State and rivalries?
I have to go with Penn. I think that's the obvious answer right there. I mean, they're both in state, so Penn would be the first one that comes to mind. I didn't even know Rutgers was with that one until we mentioned it. I didn't realize Rutgers was their last game. I just don't. Yeah. It just doesn't. Whenever you think of these last games and these rivalry games, or regardless of the teams, they can come down to the wire. We saw what happened with Georgia Tech last year. Obviously, we have Auburn, Ohio State, Michigan, then there's Penn State, and then they have Rutgers. So, with that being said, I would love to. What now?
I was gonna say, there's one for you. Go ahead. I was gonna let you finish before I put up though.
Oh, I didn't even think about Notre Dame. That could be.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, that makes sense. College football, the way that it is now, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, you've got the Big Ten has USC, like in Washington and in Oregon, which is great, like, for those programs. But I mean, it's not the way college football is. Yeah, 100%. Like, the most beautiful trophy in all of the world, and it is it is so clunky and awkward to like hold. It takes two football players to carry that trophy.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it. Good grief! Do they have a group vote for it, and everyone got to say, like, this is what this looks like?
Yeah.
But I would absolutely display this. Like, if I had this, you would see it first thing when you came on the university, or first thing coming into my house.
Oh, without a doubt. Like, it's so incredible. But I mean, it's the way that college football is. You're not allowed to, unless you're in conference, you're not allowed to have another rival, because like, for Pitt to play Penn State would be great, but it has to work out for both schools. If teams, the way that I would set up college football, and this is a little bit of a tangent, so I apologize, but
we do tangents.
I would do,
it's our middle names.
I would do eight conference games for all conferences. I think that you have to balance it out. I don't think 9 is great. I mean, 9 gives you a nice little. You're not going to finish, the regular season or in conference play, 500. So I mean, there's that. But I would do eight conference games. I would do a Power 4 game, and I would do 3. A Maction. We all love a little Maction, and an FCS school to start the year, because that helps those schools out too.
Yep, and it doesn't hurt you. So
no, right? I mean, listen, they want to come out there and get their butts whooped for $750 to $1.5 million. Oh yeah, they're gonna go do that, and you can promote that to your, hey, listen, we're gonna go play in front of 107,000 people at Penn State. You're gonna go to Alabama and play in front of 100,000 people. Like, so I mean, there's promotional value in that. that helps with recruiting in the transfer portal too. Because now you see some extended game fill. But I mean, you do that first part of the season, you have that Power 4 game, and that I would say that you have that in that third game, and then you got that fourth game. Then you got the 3 games where you do FCS, a mid-major 2, and then boom. And I think there's value in that, and it's fair for everybody. ACC is doing it. The SEC is doing it. The Big 12, the Big 10, and then it's a little bit more equatable whenever the playoff selection committee runs through their gauntlet of whatever the hell they want to choose.
Yeah. I'm surprised to see you go back to the 8 because that seems to be the fight right now, 8 versus 9 conference games. So surprising to hear you say 8.
I like the even numbers myself. I mean, I don't know. It's so tough because you see what that bye week, the SEC bye week, right? You see when they're playing the Woffords of the world, late in the season, and that doesn't happen in the Big Ten. Obviously, that happens at the beginning of the season. But I mean, 8 to me is just a nice little, round number. Then you can just kind of do different things, and it could work with 9. But again, now you have that 12-team playoff, and I hope it stays 12 teams. I don't think it needs to be any more than what it already is.
I don't think so either.
Like,
especially given that the way it worked out this last time. I mean,
right? Like after you got past 12, I don't think those teams really deserve to be in it.
Hey,
but no offense.
No,
you've had plenty of time.
We actually agree with you. No, we
Herb
agree
and I
with
have
you.
talked about this. Herb and I have talked about this and said, dude, if we had just won one of those games that we shouldn't have lost, we would have been in there easily. And it's just the game. The way we lost the games we lost was just like it was just hard. It was tough.
Yeah.
So.
We agree with you though. We agree.
That makes sense.
You win one more game and you're not having this argument. So no, we agree. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. Like, I think the 12 team needs to stay, but also you also have to understand, like, you got 8. You have 8 conference games, potentially a 9th in the conference championship, or you play that 9th and you're playing across your division or something. But then you got that conference championship week, and then you get in the tournament, and you're playing maybe 3 or 4 more games, and that's a lot of football for these guys. And maybe another off week probably isn't a bad thing if you're going to go with just one of those types of situations with that you're playing a lesser team, and it's just one of those deals. But the powers that be obviously are not me, and that's why they get paid the big bucks to make decisions that we can all judge.
Yeah. I think they're too reactionary with all their decisions. I think that's one of the biggest problems. They try to fix whatever happened last year instead of like, hey, what's going to work for the next 5 years? They're like, let's just fix last year's problem and go from there.
Right. And listen, Boise State, I thought was deserving. I think they got the seeding that they got. They were the best group of 5 team. Then they got set up to play a Penn State team that was the runner-up in the Big Ten. And then poof, then they were done. And they had that's fine for them. You didn't need to go any further than 12, and it's just like the NCAA tournament. They want to go past 68 teams. Like, there's no need. Like, you're just watering it down.
Eventually they're gonna want to go to 16 games, and the teams that are always on the outside looking in are always gonna go, we were 17, 18. We should have been 15. Well, had you won another game, you would have been 15, but you lost like 3 or 4 games. And another thing is expanding the playoff means it's going to devalue all the regular season games even more.
Exactly.
Yes.
Teams are going to go into the season not saying, maybe we'll go 11-1. They'll be like, now the phrase is going to be, we can go 9-3. Right. 9-3. We're still good. So let's lose a couple of games here. It's fine. It'll be fine. So
and you really devalue the conference championship games even more too. Go ahead, Jarrod.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing is what do you do with that conference championship game? Because if you lose, you're not going to get penalized. But if you win, it's really not going to be a help. It's not really going to help you.
Right.
No.
It's just another opportunity to see actually the Big Ten play on Fox at night, which is different.
Yeah.
But we want drama. We want teams, you have those conversations where Alabama, okay, well, maybe we're a player 2 away from being in the playoff again. Right. Maybe we prefer a 14 playoff for you guys, It seemed to work well for you guys before. It didn't really work well for Penn State because they were that 15 all the time.
And that is funny. Like we say that, but when the playoffs went to 12, I said, all right, Penn State's making it this year. And I think it was just kindly, roundly accepted.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like they were right there. Again, you're a win or 2 away every year from being in that top 4. You beat Ohio State more than just the fluke in the block 6. then you're probably in the top 4 more often. And then there's no hot seat for James Franklin. But,
Right.
it's just now you consistently lose to the same team, and it sucks. It's like watching that. It's like you just can't get over that X.
Yeah, I agree. We're putting this one up because Randy suggested it. He said that was not much worse than Okefenokee or okay.
I mean, that's at least serviceable. You can at least use that to row a boat. PJ Fleck would love it.
Well, you see how tall it is. I don't think you're going to.
Yeah.
Who's picking that thing up? Yeah.
Oh.
And PJ Fleck would undoubtedly love that in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Row the boats, man. Ski them off.
Yeah.
But that could be a Penn State rival. I don't even know who Minnesota's rival is at this point in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, listen, bring back those trophies. Those are the best part about NCAA football games. When we were kids, like playing for that trophy game. I know there's a governor's victory belt for Penn State and Minnesota too. But yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is they want us to talk about it, so we will, and we always will, because it makes sense to, right? We talk about the conferences, we talk about the playoff, and they're fine the way that they are. The conferences are wild and crazy, and I think it's dramatic. Like, did the ACC deserve to have this or that? And Clemson, if Dabo could recruit out of the transfer portal, maybe things would be different, or is willing to actually to adapt to the times, or will Bill Belichick and his 23-year-old girlfriend run the ACC? Who knows? That's what we love.
That story is wild. And the only thing that's coming out of North Carolina is that story. It is great.
Yes.
They have a Hall of Fame NFL coach, and all the stories are about the girlfriend. I mean, that's just a crazy. Like, if you're a kid, I know the initial thought was, I'll go play for Bill Belichick. But now, do you want to get involved in all this ridiculous?
Well, yeah, clearly he can relate to 23-year-olds, which is great. The ring camera was awesome. You see this guy that's so reserved in the pros, and it reminds me, and this is a terrible comparison, but it reminds me of how reserved, James Franklin is, with the media. He never really, tips his cap one way or the other. But, this is a guy that just was miserable. It seemed miserable and seemed like just this grumpy bulldog in New England. And then you see him get fired from there, and it's like he's had a rebirth. He's with this 23-year-old smoke show. She's running stuff for him. They're at the beach. They're doing Pilates together, which is wild to me. And now he's wearing suits and ties, and things aren't cut off. And she's changed him. And all it took was a flight, quote unquote, and a book, to start that conversation. So you never know. Take that trip, I guess.
How long,
Jarrod?
How long do you think Belichick will be at UNC?
Oh man, that's a good question. Until the NFL calls next year, maybe. I don't know. It would be cool to see him in college for like 4 or 5 years. But the way that college is going, I mean, honestly, who knows? Like, I don't blame Saban for getting out when he did. I think that was smart.
Not at all.
There are so many coaches that don't get a chance to go out when they should. And I think Joe Paterno at Penn State was one of those guys. Something happened at Penn State, and obviously he couldn't get out on his own terms. But for Saban to get out while he was on top, it's tough. And I wouldn't want to be DeBoer by any means coming in after Saban. I want to be the guy after
Big
DeBoer.
shoes to fill.
Like,
Yes. You know what I always told people? I said, whoever comes in after Saban, like, so you're getting fired in year 3 if you make it that far. Like, they were legit people last year. I mean, we went 9-4. Like you kind of said with Penn State, like, there's a lot of people who love to have their resume. 80, 90% of the coaches out there with a 9-4 record are probably getting an extension of some sort. But at Alabama, people were ready to fire him. So it was crazy. Like, Funny Man, he came out with a skit that I loved. Before the season started, he had somebody doing a coin flip, like, heads. All right, it's tails. You know what? Fire the new guy. Fire him. Get him out of here. And I was like, that is so like Alabama fans. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, let's. I'm on a PJ Flex kick because we saw, all that big ass ore, and you look at kind of what they're doing. Right. So he just got that big extension, right? And you look at his record in 2024, and he was 8-5. Like, there are so many schools in the SEC, in the Big Ten, even Minnesota, like, where 8-5 is probably not good enough.
Right.
That's not good at a lot of places. That's enough to get if James Franklin rattled off 2 or 3 8-5 seasons, he's that hot seat is red hot. You know,
Yeah.
Kalen DeBoer, you know, Lane Kiffin, 8-5. They're on the hot seat, if not fired. So I mean, but if Minnesota and other schools like that, 8-5 is great. You know, row the boat.
I just got finished watching the Any Given Saturday series on Netflix,
Yes,
the 7-episode series, and a lot of the SEC coaches all said the same thing. They're like, "Look, there's a lot of pressure on this job, and let's be honest, in the South and in the SEC, like you have to win the national championship of the conference. Everything else just really isn't good enough." And they hear about it from people in the town, boosters, etc. They said like the pressure is just like it's extremely stressful job, and you have to win the national championship. Everything else just doesn't worth it. So.
Yeah. Now, real quick, like, what did you guys think of that Any Given Saturday? Because I have my opinion being from the Big Ten country, but I want to hear what guys that live, breathe, and eat the SEC have to say about that.
Herb, did you watch it yet? Or?
No, I haven't watched it yet. So go ahead.
I liked it. I liked it. I liked the timing of it. Right around first week of August, college football is revving up. I like that. It was interesting to see everybody's perspective on the situation. I even liked. They brought in Mississippi State. Mississippi State had like one of the episodes that was kind of catered around them and Jeff Lebby and that whole situation. And I mean, I don't know what to say about Mississippi State. They're kind of the lower tiers right now. It's kind of an uphill battle there. But again, like a lot of the coaches were just talking about how they didn't want to say it on air. It seems like that's about how stressful it could be, but it's also hard on their families as well because they've got kids that go to schools and their wives and stuff, and they're all part of these groups and stuff. And some of the kids at school, like Shane Beamer said about some of his kids at school. They say when his kids go to school, they hear it sometimes that if they lose a game, and that's
really wild to think of. By the way,
crazy. That's crazy.
Right? It's like sending a DM when you miss a bet, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're an Oklahoma quarterback, like
and it's not like South Carolina had a bad season last year, but I mean, it's just hard to hear that, and it's being a coach. The SEC, but I think a college football coach just in general, that's a tough job. That's a tough job.
Yeah, if you're a Power 4 guy, I mean, the spotlight is on you no matter what you do.
Yeah.
I thought they profiled Beamer really well. He's a likable guy.
Yeah.
I don't know that the Diego Pavia at Vandy is a likable dude. That dude loves him some him, which is great. Like that's great to have that chip on your shoulder. But it would have been cool to see guys like DeBoer, guys like Kiffin, and the expectations that they see at their schools. But again, those schools, the Texas, the Alabamas, the Ole Misses of the world, the Georgias of the world, they don't need Netflix to come in and give away all their secrets or anything like that. Plus, they have their own production companies that can do that on their own, and they can make the money from it.
Yeah, and the only time they showed Alabama was really episode 3 that Mike warned us about.
Oh, yeah, Mike said don't watch.
Yeah, that's the one where we lost to Vanderbilt. But each episode or each
thanks for spoiling it. I'm definitely not watching now.
I'm sorry. But each episode was kind of centered around a general theme. And I forgot what episode 3's theme was. I think it was underdogs or a surprise.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere around that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we made that one. But to Jarrod's point, like a lot of the big, like Georgia wasn't really featured. Alabama wasn't really featured. LSU got some playing time because of the whole Nussmeier situation. And then him, of course, returning for his senior year.
Right.
And then that, but I mean, overall, it was pretty good. I liked it. I finally finished it today, so I was cool with it.
Okay. Yeah. We do have to get into a little bit of predictions and stuff like that. We'll start with Penn State and move on and kind of get the rest of the Big Ten. Like like we told you before, we won't grab everybody's schedule, but we can grab a couple of the contenders. I do have everybody's loaded up, so if you're like Herb, I want to see Rutgers' schedule, we'll pull that one out. But I guess, especially seeing, I guess, is how they're your chief rival now since you're in the season with them. But
the birthplace and death place of college football is 100% Piscataway, New Jersey.
So it's like you said, Penn State. I mean, you'd have to. I would even say, even with a disaster, you're 3-0 going into at home against Oregon. Like I just don't see. I mean, if you combine these three teams, I don't see how they would put up much of a fight.
Listen, that's Pitbull University and Florida International. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, yeah, I think you're 100% right. And the best thing for Penn State, or it might be the worst thing too, but they go into their 2 biggest games of the year with a bye.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have a bye going into Oregon. You have a bye going into Ohio State. That's huge. And
it is.
Obviously, Oregon's coming across the country. So, I mean, hypothetically, you're probably 7-0 going into Ohio State. You're probably both 1 and 2 in the country, because I think if Penn State beats Oregon, that's going to tip them up. It obviously all depends on how Texas OSU goes to start the year. But I mean, you're probably 1-2 in the country, 1-2 in the Big Ten. And then if you beat Ohio State, and even if you lose those last 4 games, you can't have a letdown. You can't have a letdown against the Fighting Cignettis. You obviously have to go into East Lansing and win the land-grant trophy in all of its beauty, return that to Happy Valley. And then you're host Rutgers, and then you're at host Nebraska and at Rutgers. And that's 11-1 or 12-0. And I think, at the very worst, it would be 10-2 because they lose to an Oregon, or they have a letdown depending on how things go from that Ohio State game.
Right.
Just a quick question for, I guess, both of you guys can answer. What is Oregon's quarterback situation right now? That's the one thing that I've always been kind of curious about throughout the offseason. What is their current QB situation looking like?
Not as good as it was last year. I mean, I don't know enough about Oregon, but I mean, it's tough to replace. Again, we talked about those reps with Drew Aller. You can't replace Dylan Gabriel. That experience. That's so hard to replace in the Big Ten, and as a perennial power. That's going to be their hardest thing. Now, of course, they have probably whatever 5-star that Phil Knight bought, but you still can't replace experience.
Yeah.
Dante Moore, redshirt sophomore, is currently atop the depth chart, but he transferred from UCLA. So, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He didn't, if I'm not mistaken, he played against Penn State in that game. But when UCLA came across the country to play them last year, but I don't think it went well.
I can look it up in a minute.
I'm trying to pull up the stats for that game.
Yeah. And something that was interesting to me, I was looking at a CBS Sports article from a couple months ago when they were doing the win totals for everybody. And they had Penn State at 10.5. If you take the over, it's plus money. But they had Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon all at 10.5 win totals, and they all picked them over. So I guess they think it's unless they were just trying to do it, hey, it's all plus money. If I get 2 of these, I'm good. But they seem to think that you're going to have a little log jam at the top of this of the conference.
Oh God.
Yeah, and Ohio State's probably in the same boat Penn State is. Obviously they got their Michigan game, and that's Ryan Day's kryptonite. So we're probably at worst 10-2, 11-1. But I think they also know, you have to kind of look at the grand scheme of things. You've got that Texas game that's going to be tough. And that's really Texas and Penn State and Michigan are their challenges this year.
Right.
You're not going to get challenged by Grambling or Ohio. At Washington might be tough because you got to go across the country. But other than that, everything's at home or Michigan. So it's just, I think, they could very easily be 10-2, 11-1, or 12-0. So that makes sense for those teams at least. Right. But it's going to be interesting to kind of see, how that all works out.
Yeah. Do you think they beat Michigan this year?
God, you have to hope that they do. If you're Ryan Day, if you win the national championship and you lose to Michigan, and your fans still aren't happy. The fans still want your head. So you have to beat them at some point. Holy hell! You were 22-point favorites last year and still lost to them. You let them plant a flag at midfield. At one point, you got to go up there and punch them in the mouth and do it at the big house. And this is, their chance to do it. And if they don't, then yikes.
Yeah, imagine losing to Michigan as a big favorite at the end of the year. that's oh God.
Anyway, Herb.
Moving right along, let's grab another.
Ouch! Sorry, too soon.
Yeah,
very too soon. So that gets you over to Oregon. How does Oregon play? I guess they got to have extra games squashed in before the Penn State game.
See, I asked about their QB situation, but by looking at the schedule now, they have a couple of games to kind of get that situated. Montana State, I don't know how good Oklahoma State's going to be this year, then at Northwestern and Oregon State. So until they get to Penn State, they've got a couple of games where Dante Moore can kind of work out the kinks.
Yeah, that's a nice schedule. 3 at home, and then you're at Northwestern, which is going to be a great atmosphere at their little fake field, which is, I think, awesome. But yeah, that's unfortunate. They got 4 games going into Penn State, whereas they don't have that bye week. Yeah. Then they get their other bye week after Wisconsin, and then they got to head to Iowa, which isn't isn't always an easy place to play. But if Dante Moore doesn't have it figured out by then, that's a problem for Dan Lanning and company.
Yeah. This is an interesting schedule, though, the way that lays out for sure. And also, I do see why, looking at the 3 schedules, how they could maybe take the over in all 3. What's your well, go ahead. I'm sorry, Darren.
No, I agree. I think, if you hammer the over in all 3 of those, I think you have a really good bet. Does that also include the bowl game?
Not the bowl game, just regular season. So not the Big Ten championship or anything.
Yeah, they could very easily. If they lose to Montana State or Oklahoma State, I think you might as well just shut it down.
Right. Dan Lanning's going to quit the season if they lose those. Like, all right, we're done. So,
right, but outside Penn State, Wisconsin might be tough, but they host them. At Iowa is always tough. I don't know if they're ready for Kirk Ferentz football. But they avoid all the big names. They got USC. But they avoid Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah.
And your biggest school on there is USC. So, they could very easily be 10-2, I think 11-1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you take 11-1 for all 3 teams that you got at the top?
I would. Yeah, I think that's pretty simple. I think, the Penn State – if Penn State beats Ohio State, obviously you would expect them to go in and beat Michigan. But I think – I don't think Penn State loses to Oregon. I think they beat them because it's a home game. So I think they're going to be a little bit strongly favored there, depending on how Oregon gets through those first 4 games. But I think 11-1 for all 3 of those teams is a good start to the year. It just comes down to that November 1st date for Ohio State and Penn State, because that I think is going to be for ultimately potentially the Big Ten championship, but also that number 1 spot in the country.
Yep. I agree. I think it sets up very well for all 3 teams. Did you have a 4th team? Who's your 4th team that's even worth looking at if we're talking Big Ten?
Oh God, I don't know that there is one. Obviously, Michigan is probably up there, but you don't know what you're going to get from USC.
Right.
Yeah.
And that Indiana to make a repeat.
Let's actually pull up that schedule, because I want to talk about their non-conference schedule, which is absolutely awful.
I don't see a non-conference schedule on here. Let's
see. Oh man, Kennesaw State in game 2. That's a big one.
They're playing the Larry Birds in game 3.
This looks like a basketball schedule, is what it looks like.
Yeah, which is smart, because they're going to start 3-0. Illinois is a tricky one, because Brett Bielema is a weird dude. Like, I think he's built for the Big Ten. But yeah, then you're at Iowa. That's probably then it gets significantly harder. You're at Iowa, at Oregon. You host Michigan State, who God knows what they're going to do in East Lansing. But then you got UCLA, and then you host, and then you're on the road twice. Like, that's a really weird.
It is
a really weird setup.
The beginning of this schedule doesn't set you up prepare you for anything. They're going to have the leading offense in the country after the first 3 games. Indiana's averaging 50 points a game, and we're like, okay.
No shit. Sorry to cuss, but that 100%. If you don't come out of there averaging 55 points a game, what are you doing?
Right.
And Old Dominion, they have former Penn State offensive coordinator Ricky Ronnie as their head coach, but they're not. Honestly, you could maybe put up Indiana for upset alert for Old Dominion. Maybe Virginia Tech, I think, a couple of years ago. But that would be my off the wall pick. Is Old Dominion goes into Bloomington and beats Indiana.
And Indiana shuts the whole season down. All right, we're sorry we talked trash. We're sorry.
And then what does Frank Signetti do after that? Because he's not going to shut up. Yeah. But yeah, that's your 4 home, 2 on the road, 2 home, 2 on the road, and then at the end of the year, that is a very bizarre.
It is.
Schedule setup.
Coaches can't be happy with this.
Yeah.
What is Illinois?
Yep.
The Fighting Bielemas, I think they're going to be around 3rd or 4th in the Big Ten this year. There you go.
I'm looking at the top of these schedules, and I'm like, everybody who's talking about these 8 and 9 conference games, the last 2 or 3 schedules we pulled up are starting with just terrible non-conference stuff.
Listen,
Morris.
do not disrespect Robert Morris. Thank you. That's actually my alma mater. So no lie.
I love
shout out to Robert Morris.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You guys would know all about RMU. You know.
Yeah, the flying the mascot.
The flying mascot. Good job, Rog. The flying mascot.
It's a Colonial. Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
there we go.
but you obviously played the first round game against Alabama this year. But yeah, I mean that's probably a little bit tougher of a schedule. At Kansas is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Versus Utah, like that's an SC. That's a Big 12 schedule. That's not it. That's WVU. Yeah. That's not Illinois.
Oh yeah, you're right. I don't think I would even understand. So now we got to go find that one. I'm gonna give you Michigan's while I see if I can find. And I should have realized that when looking in the middle, but this is what happens when you're grabbing like 16 schedules, I think, for nope. Sorry. I guess it would help if I could spell too.
It's all good. Words are hard, man.
This is Alabama education. It's it's very tough.
I'm gonna keep my comments to myself. I want maybe you guys will invite me back on whenever that Indiana Old Dominion thing comes true.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like these non-conference games, like. If you play 8 or whatever, you can at least balance it out so that you're not playing absolute cupcakes the entire time. That's another good schedule. The only tough team that they play is probably Oklahoma early. That's not an easy game, but I don't know what you're going to get from Oklahoma. They are too busy making sure that people know that they're sports gambling.
We have a Michigan friend who's posted online. He goes, I think Mateer should be suspended for exactly 2 games.
No more, no less, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's a schedule that could be pretty. Like you're looking at probably 9-3, 10-2.
Mm-hmm.
At USC is probably tough. Home against Washington. They're not where they usually are, and then obviously you got Ohio State. Like this is the year of Ryan Day and James Franklin. Like they have to exercise their demons. It's just that simple. I mean, Ryan Day has to beat Michigan, and if they beat Michigan, then okay, screw it. Yeah, we're gonna losing to Penn State is probably not that bad. It's like it's like the Harlem Globetrotters. Like you lost to the Generals one time. Like, okay, now it's 2 under Ryan Day, and 1 was an absolute fluke. So, I mean, for Franklin to beat them at Ohio State would be absolutely huge. But for Ryan Day to win it at the Big House after they won the national championship, that would be the statement for Day and Ohio State. That would probably be their Super Bowl yet again.
I agree. So if you had to, clearly we're thinking you've got Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State making it. And I know we kind of messed up on the schedule, but if you had to pick a 4th, because it seems like the Big Ten's going to get 4, who is that 4th team?
I think it could be Michigan or Illinois. I like Brett Bielema. They play such a blue-collar brand of football in the Big Ten, and I think that plays well. He's just also kind of crazy, which is exactly what the Big Ten needs.
Yeah.
But Michigan's schedule sets them up so nicely.
Right.
for that 9-3, that 10-2, that you just don't know what you're going to get. And obviously, I think it's going to be Ohio State 1A1 and Penn State 1A 1B. Oregon's not going to be far after. But again, like these schedules in the Big Ten are very nice for these upper echelon teams where they don't have to play more than 2, big time schools or blue chip programs, if you will. And that's going to bode well for them regular season wise. But is that going to prepare them? For the playoffs.
For the playoffs, yeah.
That's a good point.
That's the worry for me, seeing, Oregon's schedule, seeing Indiana's schedule is so bad. Like that is great for them, But at the same time, how are you going to argue if a team's like 10-2 and their losses are Ohio State and Penn State or
right.
It's going to be just kind of the same cycle that we go through every year, but they're not. The rest of their schedule isn't good, and that's what we get when we have 20-team or 18-team leagues. You're not playing everybody that matters, and that's one of those situations that's going to be an issue for these teams moving forward.
I agree. So the hot seat question, though, does the Big Ten make it 3 in a row?
For my sake, in being able to cover games, that late in the season. I hope they do. And I hope it's obviously Penn State. I think this is the year to do it. They have a 4th-year starter at Drew Aller, or 4-year quarterback, in Aller that has experience. He's got the most experience out of the guys at the top of the food chain in college football right now. And that's a big tool to have that you can't replicate other places. And I think when you have that, I think it's good. You've got 2 of the best running backs that should go into the playoff pretty refreshed, barring anything unforeseen, which is good as well. In the trenches, I think they're good. Knowles is going to run that 3-3-5, which is going to be tricky. He's got that experience too that I think they can rely on and pull from. And maybe he does give them some intel on how to beat Ohio State for the first time since 2016. But I think Penn State has a very good chance to do it. It's going to be interesting to see how the other leagues stack up. I don't think it's going to be a good year for the Big 12.
No.
The ACC, I'm intrigued by Belichick, but I don't know that results in UNC competing for the ACC championship.
No. It feels like it's Clemson or bust for the ACC, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of I know it's not going to be Florida State as much as they want it to be. But yeah, so it's going to come down to, I think, the SEC and the Big Ten yet again. Who can survive their non-conference, or they're not their non-conference, but their regular season conference games, because those are going to be tough, and especially in the SEC, because these Big Ten teams should be pretty well rested going into postseason play, regardless of whether they make it to their conference championship game.
I agree. Jarrod, great breakdown. We appreciate you, man, for sure.
Yes, we do.
We've got a couple questions of death to ask you before we let you go, though. Rodg, you want to go first?
Yep. Jarrod, prior to us coming on the show, I complimented you in the background with that new house, the piano, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. With that being said, I want you to describe to me your perfect Penn State man cave. From TVs to beverages, everything you would want in a perfect Penn State man cave.
So it's funny that you say that. So obviously, we're in my house, and I don't have a grand piano. Actually, if you can see, I have some flower wallpaper that's trying to peek through because I don't have a green screen. My house is under construction, and I'm in my wife's office, and it's got a hot pink ceiling, and it's not a great time for me right now. But at my mother's house, my wife is actually an Ohio State fan. So her grandfather was in the Ohio State marching band before they even let women in the band. He stayed at the Horseshoe as kind of his residence, back there. So at my mom's house, I have a room full of Penn State stuff that I've acquired, some old credentials. I have my watch from when they went to the Rose Bowl and lost to USC. I have some autographed memorabilia that I've purchased throughout, my years, when I had extra COVID money and could spend it on some stuff. And I have a picture of the Block 6. So we're expecting a baby here in September. His nursery is going to have all of that Penn State memorabilia. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's going to have all that Penn State memorabilia. And above his crib is going to be that Block 6
Oh, wow.
picture. So it's going to stay at my mom's. But I have some Saquon stuff. I have a Jack Ham autograph picture. I have a Paul Posluszny and Dan Connor autograph picture as well, and stuff like that. I mean, I'm probably not going to have a TV in there, but if I were to have a TV, my setup now is I have a 65-inch TV in my living room, and I want to have 2 probably 40 inches right beside it. And that would be the best spot to watch, a night full of college football, which I don't often get, covering games at Beaver Stadium.
Yeah.
Congrats. Thank you for that. Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. Rodg has twins, so he's but with the Dallas Cowboy fan, so it's always interesting how they get to decorate and what clothes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's the good news is we at least agree on Cowboys. Like we went to Cowboy Stadium or AT&T Stadium, whatever you want to call it, for our anniversary trip in November, and they played the Eagles. So it was cool to see Saquon play, and then I looked at my wife at one point in the game, and they were absolutely getting throttled. The only thing the game is missing is Kenny Pickett, and then 10 seconds later, Kenny Pickett went in and just crushed my heart even a little bit further.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
It is what it is.
We have a game we like to call Work, Play, Live, Ditch. Okay, I'm gonna give you 4 names. Pick one. Work. Hey, this is the guy I work with 40 hours a week. Live, hey, this is my roommate, come hang out. Ditch, this is the person when they call you, goes to voicemail. And Play, this person, they call you, you guys are heading out on Friday night and having a good time. Yeah.
Okay.
And what's up, Crimson Watch? Roll
Shout out to
Tide.
Crimson Watch. Thank you for joining us.
Yep. I know she was splitting a little time over there with JB at the same time. So cool one on this Saturday. All right, your 4 names. Saquon Barkley, LeVar Arrington, Micah Parsons, James Franklin.
Oh, man.
Whenever I hear, oh, man, I know it's a good one.
Good question. Yeah.
So it's work, play,
live,
ditch.
And ditch.
Yes.
All right. So I would say probably ditch Micah.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that one coming.
That's so.
Yeah. And that's not anything against Micah, but, a ditch because I'd work with Franklin. I think that would be, he's a great leader,
Right.
a guy like that. I would live with Saquon. I think that would be fun. And I would play with LeVar. Like, LeVar would be a blast to go out on the Friday night with.
Yeah.
So, that's tough. And it's funny, one of the things that I've been doing is some of my features that you guys might have seen is I'm asking old Penn State athletes or coaches what their Mount Rushmore would be.
Right.
So I asked.
Because I was reading your linebacker one today, yeah.
Yeah. So I asked, Paul Posluszny what his linebacker group would be. And it's Shane Conlon, LeVar Arrington, Jack Ham, and Brandon Short. Like today at practice, I was able to ask Dan Connor that. And it was Shane Conlon, Paul Posluszny, Sean Lee, and LeVar. Like LeVar is the dude.
Always.
I'm very excited to see what LeVar's son can do. And Penn State, I can't imagine the expectations, wearing that number and having your dad is an incredible football player there, a college football Hall of Famer, what that would be like. And we'll get to talk to him after the season because he's a freshman. But I'm very interested to see how he progresses through linebacker U.
Yeah. Okay. All right, last question, then we'll let you get out of here. All right. Penn State versus Alabama national championship game. You're covering the game, so you have to be there. You've got tickets at the 50-yard line, taking notes, doing podcasts, the whole press tour, everything. But unfortunately for you, you have to sit next to an Alabama fan. All right, so we're going to give you a list. You have to pick one of these Alabama fans to hang out with for the whole day, okay? Herb or Rodg?
Can I be flanked, one on each side?
Nope. You only got one ticket. Yep, it's just you and one Alabama fan.
I got to take Rodg. He's been taking a lot of heat from you all day. And the wired headphones. So, he might have those plugged in. I wouldn't probably have to hear him.
Oh, my goodness.
I like that answer.
He didn't even think about it that much.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
My official record now is Rodg is 127 and I am 4. So
we got to get the scoreboard back, Herb. We got to get the scoreboard back up here. Ramp it up
I dig it. No, that's great.
You
got to go with the guy with wired headphones, man.
But
it blends in. But at least you got a mic. He's just rolling with his.
He's got the exact same mic. He just doesn't have us out there.
Okay, see, it's just being deceptive. That's what I like.
Yeah.
Jarrod, man, we really appreciate you, man, coming on. Tell everybody where we can either find you and what you got going on. And then because I didn't research it properly about the 2 podcasts too as well.
Yeah, so my Penn State work can be found at Nittany Sports Now. My Twitter is obviously at jprugar26. And I have 2 podcasts, the Lashing Out podcast, which really talks about Penn State football. We get into some other stuff. And then another all Penn State sports behind the curtain podcast that are on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you want to call it. They're on it. But I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a great time, and hopefully we can get together again soon.
Yeah, we always keep all people in mind. So we'd love to talk later in the year for sure. That's it, Jarrod. Like I said, appreciate you. For HerbNRodg, we will be back Saturday at 7:30. It's a Bama Standard takeover. So everybody with the J name on Bama Standard is going to drop by and say hello. So we'll see you then. Next week, the SEC preview. So Bama beat Mike, Rodg, and myself will be breaking that down. So Jarrod, you have a great night. Again, congratulations on the baby coming up. Everybody else,
congrats on the baby. Yes.
Thank you guys. Night. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.